if you're new, grab your remote and have that finger, that thumb on the play button. You should have your episode paused at the 0-second mark. Don't have it
at the Prime Video mark in case there's an ad.
Yes, correct. At the Prime Video mark, there might be an ad on yours as well, so you might want to see if there's an ad and then wait and then just pause it on the like logo for Prime Video, Prime Original Video. Don't you're not going to want to press play from the main menu, because that means that you're going to have a loading thing, and who knows how long that thing will take to load. You might have an ad. We all want to make sure we're as synced as possible, and the best way to do that is just make sure that your episode is paused on that logo, on that Amazon Originals logo. So I'll give everybody a second to do that. I can't actually do the timer because I'm not the host. So one of you, Kendra or Shelly, if you can be in that on that episode page ready to press it. We're going to do that together.
I got it. I'll do it, Shelly.
Great. Does all of this does this stuff make sense, Stephanie?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I have my episode paused on Prime Original, on that logo, Prime Original. I'm ready to go. We're going to do this all together on the count of 3. So on that 3, you're going to press that play button. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Stephanie, are you having snacks? Because that's like totally John's thing when we.
I don't.
I don't have any snacks tonight. I didn't grab any.
It's 9 o'clock where I am, so I'm like done eating for the day.
Past snack time.
I love this scene, by the way.
Me too. It's one of my favorites from the whole episode.
I have crackers and cheese whiz.
So this is not. There's no previously on. This is just a straight cold opening.
Correct.
She caught her parents being not.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh, that's funny. I didn't even pick up on that.
None of us knew what it was about. So sprinkled throughout these episodes are friends of mine too. I have a friend in this episode as well, and I'll point him out when he gets there.
I like how we get to watch her working on her stand-up pair.
I love this. This is brilliant. So this is brilliant. You're like seeing her kind of refined her process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, this diner
really
that they're in is an actual diner that's in New York that's shut down, and it was actually across the street from where I used to work. I used to work at Barnes and Noble for the longest time, and during when I booked Maisel too, and so the diner here, that's the actual diner, and it shut down before they started filming the show, and then they asked the owners if they could use it to film, and they did.
Oh, I was a bookseller for Barnes and Noble for 9 years. So
11, so you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
What diner was it?
It was, I forget what the name of it was. Arthur's or Artie's.
I was gonna
I
say
think
Artie's or
it's
Artie's.
Artie's. Yeah.
I was gonna say
and so,
which Barnes and Noble, because you could narrow it down from the amount of Barnes and Nobles in the city.
82nd Street and Broadway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was there for like 11 years, and I was there when I filmed Maisel too. When I filmed Maisel, Mr. Robot, Orange is the New Black, I was still at Barnes and Noble. And you know, doing this one day thing, it was great, because the next day I had to go back to Barnes and Noble, and that's what people don't realize about being an actor, is that sometimes we have survival jobs where we have to go back after we film this amazing thing. Kevin Pollak is so great in this part.
I love in this scene he has more hair.
Yeah, I know, the toupee is hilarious.
I don't know. Kevin Pollak is Moisha in general. Just, love him. Ever since he saved the 13 Jews out of Germany, I was like, yes, I love this character.
It's funny, all these character actors that are in the show that I had been like watching for years on so many different things. And it's just so amazing that you know, Gilmore Girls and Maisel, and she really they use so many good character actors. It's awesome. I love it.
Oh yeah, they have such great respect for character actors. I mean, most of Gilmore Girls was just all character actors.
I mean, yeah. Wasn't Sean Gunn like in there as something else, and then they brought him back as Kirk or something? I heard that. I don't know if that's true. Is that true? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I love this life lesson from Moisha.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, this is just the way it was. I mean, unfortunately. I mean, it's still the way it is. I mean, there's still plenty of you know, be a conqueror.
This scene reminds me of like Brighton Beach Memoirs and stuff. I love it. I love it so much.
It really does. Yeah. I like that.
I mean,
What is Joel?
I mean, this sort of ties into our conversation last time about whether or not you feel bad for Joel.
I love this scene, the way his mother is handling him. It is so funny.
The epitome of Jewish motherhood.
I have an Italian mother, so kind of along the same lines.
I love that she asked if this is a girl's suitcase, because it's reference to the fact that he stole Midge's suitcase.
And his room looks exactly the same as when he was little.
Wait,
It's a
did
very
he leave
Boston.
Did he leave Penny Pan's apartment?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
No. Yeah, he did. I think it's this episode. It might be in the next episode. I'll tell you when we get there.
This is my favorite scene coming up. John,
So-
see if you can guess why.
So wait, I'm a little unclear here. Is he living with his parents? Is this where he went the other night when he told Penny to go up and he was going back to the office? Or was that like a flashback?
Oh, I bet that's what he.
It's my favorite conversation.
Oh, I know why.
The plastic conversation.
Yeah.
They're all conglomerates. All of them.
I love the secretary so much. Oh my God, they're talking about millennials. Yes, I don't know. That's what my
Right?
dad says all the time, right?
Everybody gets a trophy.
Everybody.
Exactly. Does anyone know what those things on the couch are? I've
think-
always
I
wanted.
think they're hats.
I thought
aren't
they were little dresses at first, but they look like little bags.
I think they're bags.
They're like little bags that are filled with like little treats and stuff.
Okay.
That's so good. Tony
He's not gonna
Shalhoub
remember
is
I think
that.
party
one of
hat.
the greatest. He's so great.
Those are party hats. They have tassels on the top.
Agree. I think they're party hats.
Oh, that's what I thought they were. I thought they were party hats, little hats.
Yeah, they do look a little like party hats.
So this is actually a mystery. We don't know yet what happened. Correct?
Yeah, I
Correct.
guess.
Yeah. Did they, weird question, because I forget. In the previous episode, did Joel go to a theater
Yes.
with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a story after.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the last episode, the last we saw with Joel is him and Joel and Penny are driving home. They get back to their place and he tells her to go upstairs. He's not going to come up. He's going back to the office, which we were all like,
Okay.
yeah, that's
I have a story after. My scene is next after this.
Shit. I love this guy.
He's also a big character actor. He's in everything.
Oh yeah.
He was next to me in the makeup chair, and so wasn't Alex. I was between Alex and Rachel, but David was next to me for like 2 seconds, and then Alex came in. If you live in New York, you know like how north you want to go and how south you want to go. This is my scene.
Oh yeah.
I'm sitting behind Rachel and Alex in a peach pillbox hat.
Oh, I saw.
And we had to sit through this this took like 2 hours to do this specific part.
I love this set because I'm also from Flushing, Queens, and it's delightful for me.
Is she playing a real person?
You'll find out.
No
I won't spoil
spoilers.
anything.
I spotted you, Stephanie,
Yeah, you'll spot
in
me
the right
again.
corner.
Hang on 1 second.
That was just you.
That was just me.
Woo!
Yeah,
Nice.
I know.
Yay.
I know. So I know it's tiny, and it's funny because Alex had said to me she was like 2.5 hours in hair and makeup for that. And I was like, do you know how hard it is to get that one line, man?
One
There are
line.
no small roles.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say that there are no small roles, just small actors.
So the guy who was holding the camera, the photographer, he apparently didn't do it correctly for a long time, for a couple of takes, more than 5 takes. And people were getting frustrated, director wise, and they were like, if you can't do it, I'm gonna find someone else who can. And I had to stand while they were doing this whole stage thing. I had to stand off camera the whole time.
You guys were saying there's no small roles. My husband has been an extra in tons of stuff, and he finally got one line, like 4 words, and he was beyond excited because it meant he could have an IMDb page. I mean, he was over the moon.
I was just so excited because it was the year that I started getting a lot of co-stars, and when you get these small parts, you feel like you're on top of the world, because especially if you struggle for such a long time, like I have. And you know, it's just validation that you're on the right track, I guess. I had my own trailer. It was the Honey Wagon, but I had my own trailer, and they said I could get a breakfast burrito, so that was great.
Oh, we're gonna talk afterwards about the honey wagon. That because they don't know what that is. I've never mentioned it before.
I'm
but
so
it's actually-
sorry.
It's an interesting thing. I want to talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Remember that word, everyone. Honey wagon.
So this guy in this scene with them, his name's Zach Appleman. He's on Broadway a bunch of times. He's a big theater actor in New York. He's phenomenal. Like, if you want to see a good live theater performer, see if he's in anything in New York right now, because he's amazing.
Yeah, the Paladinos see a lot of theater, and they
It's amazing.
and they actually source a lot of their talent from theater.
And with this series, because it's filmed in New York, you have all these Broadway actors, like Marion Hinkle's a Broadway actor, Rachel, Tony Shalhoub, you know, Jane Lynch. They're all Broadway people.
So what did I miss about Jane Lynch that everyone was like, it's a spoiler if I tell you she's based on a real
you'll
person?
find out. We don't want to spoil it.
Okay, got it. Turns out she's what, Carol
Patient.
Burnett, that she's Lucille Ball.
I have like an interesting fact about who she is, but I'll tell you later.
I think I know who you're talking about, because, yeah. I love the maid. I love her so much. She's phenomenal.
The finger point. The finger point.
Every mother knows how to do a good finger point. Am I right?
It's in the job description.
Still,
That scene's great.
it's so great. It gets
amazing.
better though.
So amazing.
Soft foods night. I love it.
It's interesting they don't have a formal dining room. Does this make no sense to anybody else?
I think Abe's office is the formal dining room.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought. Like, we have a formal dining room, but it's my office now.
I also think it's sort of a New York thing to repurpose rooms.
Totally. I just thought in a classic Six, like, you know, they should have the space, but it makes sense that his office would be the dining room.
This scene is
I love Rose.
Rose is really quickly becoming like, I think she might eventually,
Oh, she'll be your favorite character, believe me.
I think that she might usurp the Shaloub throne. Because Shaloub is Abe is my favorite character right now. But
Wait until season 2.
but Rose is really coming up. She's really coming up behind fast.
Her father wrote it now.
Well, if they're 6 feet apart, they can't get COVID. Yeah, that hit different. What he said with Dodie running in interference.
I was
Still
just gonna
won't remember
say,
it.
you know, the prophecy came true. He was not gonna remember that. He was not gonna remember Imogene's name.
I love the celery line too.
Yes, Stephanie, don't we all need something by receipt?
Oh my goodness, this song.
They're like fusion of like 1950s, 40s music and like the 80s is amazing. 70s, 80s.
Oh wow, a month has passed? Oof.
I'm with Rose on that one.
So the woman who plays the fortune teller in this scene is a Broadway actor, Katrina Link. She is in the Broadway production of Company
Yeah,
right now.
she-
She is
yeah.
amazing.
I just saw that she's in that.
She's so good. She was in the band's visit, and I think she won a Tony for that one.
Yes, she did. She absolutely
And then
did.
she was in Company. She is in Company right now. She plays Bobby. It's she's so.
The band's visit with Tony Shalhoub. Ironically, he was in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you do this, Joel. Don't you make me feel sorry for you.
I know. I was just working on it.
Okay, my friend plays the butler in this scene. My friend Steven. And he's so funny.
Oh, I love the butler. He's one of my favorite parts of this episode.
He was in Downton Abbey.
I love her response. Thank you.
He is such a good character actor. He can do any accent under the sun.
Oh,
And he has a pitch perfect British accent. It's amazing.
do you guys notice what they're doing in that room?
You mean with
Ironing
There's
the
no
newspaper,
iron.
yeah.
Ironing
Yeah.
newspapers.
Mhm.
What are they ironing?
They're
The newspaper.
probably getting the ink to dry. That's usually what they did.
so it wouldn't rub off on their.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
That's one of my favorite parts of this episode and the series, because it is something that was done, and just to add that is brilliant to me.
He actually was in the audition waiting room with me before I auditioned. We were both waiting to audition. He auditioned before me, got the part. I auditioned after him, got the part, but we never obviously had any scenes together. This is my favorite scene. It's so funny.
I'm confused. I'm worried that I
I'm
missed
with
something.
you.
You got to keep watching.
Okay. Okay.
They answer your question.
Um,
I know what you're wondering, but they answer your question.
I'm also confused, John.
Well, that's normal for you, Mandy.
Thanks, Shauna.
You're welcome.
The wedge part is my favorite. This is the funniest scene in the. I love this scene so much. So they filmed this the day after I filmed my thing, and it was in August, and it was probably like a 90-degree day. So and the actor in me, all I can think is it's like 89 degrees and you're wearing a fur coat.
I have no idea how to feel about what we just saw.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not there. I'm convinced that there's more to come, but
This scene is also hysterical. All of them are, to be honest.
this scene is just reminding me of how very rarely we see synagogues on television.
If ever, yeah.
And I'm davening, I'm singing along.
I thought I was the only one.
Oh, gross.
So good. Oh man, it's so good. She is so good.
I love the Gaslight. I want to go to the Gaslight. Is it real?
It was real.
Yeah. Once upon a time.
I think they use God, it's either they used one of the clubs in the West Village, I think.
I think
As-
I read it was on St. Mark's. Or maybe that's the original location of the Gaslight.
I think that's the original location. I think Eastville Comedy Club, which is on the east side. So Lower East Side, I think. East.
On Google, it says they use the Up and Up.
Okay.
It's a cocktail bar called the Up and Up, but the original location was
St. Mark's.
The exterior, yeah, they still shoot the exterior at St. Mark's Place in Alphabet City.
Yeah. I love the Lower East Side so much.
Oh, y'all, this is my favorite part.
This is the scene that like put Maisel on the map in terms of like amazing monologues. Like John, you'll probably attest to this, but the writing in this scene is probably one of the best that Amy and Daniel have ever done. It's so amazing. This monologue that she does.
Yeah,
Can't
for
wait.
those of you
Double
for
headphone.
this, buckle up.
Yeah, I'm double headphoning this. See you guys in a bit, or hear you guys in a bit. Uh-oh.
Just wait. Oh, buckle up, Buttercup. Shit hit the fan.
Oh my goodness.
Woo.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, what a
yep.
way to end.
And when I first saw the episode, I was so nervous. I called my agent and I was like, is my name in the credits? I don't see it. But you have to like watch.
Wow. Wasn't
that
that
monologue
ending was-
amazing? It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, not just the monologue, I mean the whole scene, all
The whole-
tension,
yeah.
all of that. Like that was just incredible. I mean, so am I to assume that he manages Sophie or did, or is
Yeah.
it mostly just
Yeah.
like you don't know?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
no.
he's Sophie's manager.
He's Sophie's manager.
And
Yep.
and Susie was trying to get Midge as
Like,
Sophie's
in there.
opener.
Yeah.
So
Oh
she
my.
had to get him down to the Gaslight to see her to agree to book her for as the opener for Sophie Lennon.
Oh.
I saw your name on the credits, Stephanie.
Thank you. I got so nervous. It was my first like real like because it aired before Robot, and I ended up getting cut from Robot, and it's a long story. But it was my first like thing where I could look at the TV and be like, oh God, I actually put in a lot of effort and it didn't actually like I'm not doing independent stuff that nobody sees anymore. Although there's nothing wrong with that, but there's something about being an actor and like getting into something that someone sees. John, do you have any insight?
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually want to ask some questions about your process getting here. So, how did you get the role? How was it sort of the classic got a call from your agent, go down to a casting office, and sort of go through the steps, put on tape, get seen by producers,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
eventually get the call.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I remember when I got the audition, because it was a new show, I was like, what the hell is this? And then I was like, oh, it's the producers of Gilmore Girls. Like I knew right away because I knew Amy's name. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. But the show wasn't available because it was in the first season, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had released the pilot as like a preemptive thing. So I was able to like watch the pilot before the audition, which was kind of interesting. And so I get a call from my manager and he's like, hey, you have an audition for this new Marvelous Mrs. May. He was like questioning it. And then, like when a show is new, it's different than like, oh my God, you have an audition for Orange is the New Black or something that's like really, really well known.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got the sides, which for those that don't know, sides are your script. So I got that, but they just have your part on it. They don't have anything else. They have your part, like your scene. So all I had was the "What's your name, sweetie?" and Linda, I'm from Queens too. That was it. And so I was like, that's it. I was like, okay. And so I was sort of like making fun of the line in a weird way, like when I was rehearsing it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found the voice and I was like, oh, I'll just do that. And so I like put on my best like 1940s outfit that I could find. and like did my hair kind of like in pinroll curls or whatever, and went into the casting. Well, before I got into the casting director, there was a friend of mine who went in before me, and she had come out and said like out of the building. I was just walking around the neighborhood because I get places super early because I'm like nervous. So she was like, it's fine. Like, she was trying to like tell me the tone and everything. And I was like, cool. But I didn't really listen to anything that she had to say because I don't like when people like talk to me or like want to, like, she's like, want to grab coffee? And I'm like, no, I never do that before an audition. After, sure, we can grab coffee all day long. But like before,
that's interesting because in Los Angeles that just would never happen because grabbing coffee in Los Angeles would require both people to get into their car and drive.
Right, exactly. But like in New York, it's a walking city, so you see everybody. But so I was like, no, I'll go in and I'll just do my thing. Sorry. And I had like a half an hour. So I got coffee on my own, and I probably wasn't the best thing in the world because it made me a little jittery. But so I go in to the office, and Steven's there, and he Dawes, and he was like, Stephanie. I was like, Steven, and then
who is Steven Dawes?
Steven plays Dawes. Stephen Hawke plays Dawes,
the butler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I go in the waiting room, and I'm looking for the the sign-in sheet that we always have when we go to an audition, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not there. So Annie, the associate, was like, Stephanie, I'll be right with you. I didn't even think she saw me come in. She didn't. She was coming out of the room, and I was like, okay. And then I go in and I do. It's with the casting associate. It's Cindy Tolan. She casts Maisel. She also casts Girls 5 Eva on Peacock, and she cast 30 Rock, and
she's a big casting agent.
Yeah, and the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been in her for a lot of stuff, so for comedy. But so I go in and I do the thing, and Annie's cracking up, and I'm like, I hope this is okay. And then I do it like twice, maybe 3 times. I don't remember. And then I leave. And then exactly 24 hours later, my manager was like, hey, Stephanie, you got it. And I was like freaking out. I was like, yes.
Oh, wow. So you didn't even go into producers.
I didn't go into producers, no. It got sent to the producers. It got sent directly to the producers.
That's very cool. And
so I was like, great. Because, normally you just go in to, like, you get, like, a callback to go in for the producers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, callback. No, sometimes they'll call it a callback. Sometimes they'll just say, you've got a producer session. And it's basically the same thing. It means that the tape got the producers. Now the producers want to see you. They don't do it for every part. Obviously.
They don't even do a table read. Like, they don't even, I wasn't at the table read for this.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because it's one line.
I'm curious whether they had a table read, whether they do table reads for
I think they do. They do. They definitely do.
Okay. I would think so. They
recur on it.
Yeah, they like their table reads. And
they have like 1950s snacks and like all that stuff, and I'm jealous. But whatever.
So you went. Is that something that you commonly do for auditions? Which is to dress up in either clothes?
No, or not at all.
Did they ask you to do that, or no?
And I was like, I'm just gonna see if I can, like, bring the essence of the 1950s with what I have.
Got it.
And it was funny. It was on like my goal list for the year. That year, 2017, of like, I was like, I want to do like a 1950s,
like a period style
thing.
Yeah,
exactly. And so it was just weird when I got it, because I got it at the beginning of August, and then 2 weeks later, I got called in for Orange is the New Black, and then I booked it. And then I did 2 episodes of Orange is the New Black after that. And then I did an off-Broadway show for a while, and then I did Happy on Sci-Fi, and then the pandemic happened. And now I'm still auditioning. I just had an audition today for
Are you in New York? I know that you're based. You told me that you were based in Chicago, or sorry, based in Boston. But it sounds like if you were working at Barnes and Noble across the street from where that you were living in New York.
Yeah,
City
I was.
for a while.
So weird story. I was in New York for almost 14 years, and then the pandemic hit. And I wanted to like get out of the city to deal with some family stuff and my own mental health too.
Yeah.
And so I came back to Boston to my family house, and I'm with my parents at 37, which is totally cool. And I decided I'm going to go back to school. So I'm in graduate school for my master's, but it's online, so I can do it anywhere.
What are you majoring in?
So I'm getting my master's in English and creative writing with a focus in screenwriting.
Oh, nice.
And so are
you imagining doing a pivot, or do you imagine that you're always going to keep those two things together?
Both, yeah.
Very cool.
My thesis.
I did a hard pivot.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't act anymore.
I was wondering that. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, my focus is mostly on the other side of things, I guess you'd say. For most of the last decade, I was just writing. I was writing television pilots,
but it's interesting,
and films and stuff. But
it's really interesting, and I'm sure you can.
I've talked to some of the folks here. They know about it, but for me, the life of an actor, just like the day-to-day of an actor is just not
it's hard
style.
Dude,
it's just not my style. It's very hard. I mean, all professions are really hard, but it's more like when you love something, you're like love something enough, you're willing to endure the difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are plenty of things that I endure that are really difficult,
right?
But that was not something I wanted to endure because I didn't love it enough.
I mean, I'm still, thank God, I still audition. I mean, nobody's really working right now, at least in my friend group. When someone books something, it's like, yes.
Are most of your auditions on tape? That they can self tape?
I painted a wall blue, like the chroma key blue. So I didn't have to like break down a backdrop every time I had to do a self-tape. I have a camera, I have light, like box lights. I worked as an editor for a long time, so I edit my own stuff, and
I'll tell you the pandemic really made the casting assistant obsolete.
It really did. Yeah.
I mean, because now actors are their own casting assistants, because that's all it is. Like every actor now has a blue wall or a big roll of paper, and a camera, and they are basically doing the exact thing that casting assistants were doing, which was putting the actor on tape when there's nobody there to do it, so that they then show the casting director the tape or the producers the tape. And now it's the same thing, except now you're just doing it from your home, and the casting assistant job is kind of not as necessary anymore. I mean, I'm sure that there are other things that the casting assistant still needed for, but it's interesting. So you have so you just listed off a few things that you have been doing, and you said that you did 2 episodes of Orange is the New Black. So there was something semi-recurring or somewhat recurring about your character. Really cool. I've seen some photos from it. I've never watched the show, but I've seen some photos. I've seen some photos of you from that, and now I'm really interested to check it out.
It's funny because it's like I thought I was a one and done again. I thought I was going to be just there for the day and like that would be it. And then I like 2 months later, maybe 2.5, around this time actually, I get a call from my manager and he's like, "Hey, they're bringing you back to Orange is the New Black." And I was like, "What?" It was a huge deal. I mean, you know this as an actor. For a show to bring you back is a huge deal.
Oh yeah, for sure. And look, you know, like, you know, I'm so excited that you're here with us today, and I love all of the insight that you brought to it. I as I said before, I don't believe that there are any small roles. As an actor, it's really hard to get that when you're first starting out, because everything is about quantity, you know, how many lines, you know. But you know, like to be completely honest, you know, the amount that you had in this episode to do was not a great deal more than the amount that I had to do in my first episode of Gilmore Girls. You know, that's something that people forget.
Which I just watched again today, by the way. I was like, I want to watch this first episode because I want to see if we can share notes.
but I mean, it's true that like there's not really a huge difference. You know, I had like maybe 3 lines in that first episode.
And it was so
really
funny.
Small amount. The only difference is that I came back because they decided that they wanted the character to recur. And I don't know if that necessarily was because of anything I did. That was just what happened. But in another alternate reality, they didn't do that. And then, you know, it's a small role. And I remember at the time being very like, you know, I mentioned this when we were watching the show, being very insecure about the fact that like it was such a small role. There was another role that I had auditioned for that had more lines. And so I was actually like comparing like, okay, there's less lines here. It's not as good of a role. Right? But, you know, hindsight is 2020. You know, I look back at it now and I'm like, oh my God, it was the way better role because it stuck around for 7 seasons. I became a part of this historic cast. And so, you know, just this whole thing of like, you know, small roles, big roles, like ultimately it's all the same thing. You're a part. And I've said this many times that like, I think the biggest unsung heroes of television and film are background talent. I don't even like calling them extras.
Yeah, exactly.
I really don't think that it's giving them the credit that they deserve for being a crucial part of the illusion that makes that show so wonderful. I mean, think about it. The Gaslight wouldn't be the Gaslight if it didn't have all of that background talent doing what it needs to do in order to make Rachel look the way she looks on stage, right? Like you remove all those people, you make them like digital characters, and the scene is just not as good. So
or the theater scene, if you didn't have any of those, if you just had me, Rachel, and Alex watching Jane Lynch, it wouldn't be interesting. You know, although the guy who was sitting next to me, and if you watch the scene again, you don't see a guy because he was just, I think he was falling asleep, if I remember correctly. And Daniel had to be like, "Hey, you're falling asleep. Like, you can go away now." Like, kind of thing.
So tell me a little bit about and by the way, Kendra, Shelley, if you have any questions that you have, that any curious, or anybody who really is up here on the couch with us, and by the way, anybody who's out there on the beanbags and would like to join us up here on the couch and ask some questions, please do. Honey Wagon. Oh my gosh, we got it.
Let's talk about the Honey Wagon.
Honey Wagon. Okay, so Honey Wagon. All right, so
let's talk about some film terms other than Honey Wagon, though. Let's talk about like, even additionally from Honey Wagon. Let's just break down certain things. Honey Wagon.
Yeah. So I mentioned this to you all before, is that, you know, one of the perks of an actor in television and film is the trailer, right? Like that's kind of an important thing. Like, you know, it's when your agent calls you to tell you got the role, they usually list a variety of the things that they quote unquote got for you. Although very often these are standard, so it's not that big of a deal that they got those for you. But, you know, things like shared card. That means, of course, you're going to be in those opening credits, but you're going to be sharing it. Single card means that you're going to have your name alone. And then they usually tell you something like, you know, you got a trailer, right? And there are a variety of different types of trailers. There are, like, you know, a trailer that's like, it's like a trailer with 3 rooms in it. There's a trailer with 2 rooms in it. Obviously now those are bigger rooms. And then there's a trailer that's just like one big room. And then there are some trailers that are just like 8 rooms. So they're just basically like, they're just enough for you to sit down inside of them. It's like a door, a mirror, and a little seat, you know. That's your trailer, really tiny. And then there's something called the honey wagon, which is honey wagons are a kind of trailer. They're very small, old trailer, right?
Yes.
So, sort of old trailer that is a single. It is a single trailer, but it's a very small trailer. And
Sometime.
Say
Yeah. You have a seat.
Yeah, no seat. Yeah, the honey wagon. The honey wagon is usually what co-stars get.
Which is what I got.
Yeah.
But Linda was on the trailer on the door, and that was the important part to me. It's like
but the thing is that getting a trailer is a big deal. Even getting a honey wagon is a big deal, because most co-stars don't get any trailer. So so it's really nice. And when you get there, your name is on the door of your trailer, just like in the movies where you see, like, you know, people's names on the door of their dressing room. You know, it's the same way with trailers. So your name is on the door of your trailer, and there it would be on a honey wagon. But yeah, honey wagons have like a, you know, they're such a, now there's lots of different ones. They're like star wagons and all, you know, all these other ones, but honey wagons are really old. And I think at one time the honey wagon was the main trailer. Like, it was the main form of trailer. They were all honey wagons, or a lot of honey wagons. And so really, honey wagons are kind of like this relic from old Hollywood that has somehow stuck around, and now they're you know, because they're so old, you know, they are the wagon that they pull out, you know, they pull out at the end, essentially.
Yeah, and it's usually next to the bathroom. When you see Lucy and Desi on a trailer, those are the bathrooms.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's trailers that are the bathroom trailers. They're the trailers that are makeup trailers. They're trailers that are the wardrobe trailers.
Yeah.
But I feel like honey wagons are kind of like, they're kind of a bit of a rite of passage.
Yeah, exactly.
They're kind of a rite of passage. Like every actor that I've known has gotten a honey wagon once, and in a weird way, like if you skipped that step and you didn't get, and you didn't, you weren't at the level where they would give you a honey wagon, you skipped that step, you kind of missed out. You kind of missed out on being able to say, I got a honey wagon.
And it's also a humbling experience too. It's also like there are these weird things in the industry where like we were talking about before, there are no small parts, which is true. Every person on a film set is valuable. However, when you're auditioning and stuff, especially with the actor community and with your friends and stuff, they're like, oh, I got called in for a co-star, or I got called in for a guest star, or I got called in for a series regular or recurring or whatever. And there's sort of like this totem pole system.
Yeah. It goes like this. So you've got
background, which
series,
don't say anything.
You've got series regular, that's the top. Then
Right.
next down would be a recurring character.
Right.
The next step down from that would be what's called a guest star. The next step down from that would be what's called a co-star.
Which is what I did.
And then you have, after that, you have background talent. And very often, we talked about this as well. Well, not very often, but sometimes they will actually source a role from background. So they maybe want to, they want to write in a quick role that has 1 or 2 lines. They don't want to get that line in post. They want it to be real on set with a real person. They don't have time to get a casting director to send out casting call and all that stuff. So they will,
and you get upgraded.
Yeah, you'll be upgraded from background talent to a co-star, which is a big deal. Once you speak, once you say that line, you are now officially an actor on the show, and you are protected by the actors union.
Yeah. And there's another story for you. So there was a girl in front of me, a background actor who was in front of me in that line right there in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something to Jane during the scene. Mm-hmm. Daniel goes, cut. And then he walks over to her and he goes, sweetie, don't say anything. But even though she might not have realized that she said like, thank you or whatever, he was like, sweetie, don't say anything. And then Jane looks at me and she winks because she knows I'm the one who says stuff in the thing.
Right.
And then it got to the point where she kept doing it. So then Daniel was like, hey, can you go to the back of the line?
Yeah, because, and that's actually, Dan was actually protecting the budget.
Exactly.
Because the fact that she spoke actually meant that that technically she was putting herself into an acting role. So technically the union could actually come after the show and say that person had a line in the show. It would require them to remove the line. It just would cause a problem. They can't have anybody speak. That's why, as background talent, you don't speak. All you're doing is just moving your mouth. Because if you speak, you suddenly make you put the production in a really difficult position.
And it sounds like we're like shitting on background actors, which we're not, but
oh no, not at all. I said,
not at all.
I
love did background work when I was first starting out, like years and years and years ago, when you do what you got to do. But there comes a time where you're there, and there was sort of this weird class divide, especially in every job that I've worked. Once you get to that co-star recurring level, the mood is different. Your experience is different walking through a set.
But I mean, think about it, we've all watched a movie where we've seen background talent being ridiculous.
Like
right?
mugging for the camera, or
like you're like, what is that person doing?
Or like,
it's like, yeah, there are, like, background talent is a talent, right? And
exactly.
There are plenty of bad background talent out there that aren't focused on what's necessary, which is creating the illusion of this crowd of people. They focus on, wanting to be noticed, wanting to be seen, all that stuff. We've also seen plenty of, and usually we don't think about it because it's seamless, plenty of scenes with background talent featured on camera, well featured on camera, and they are just absolutely amazing. They just blend in, they create this grand illusion that's absolutely beautiful. That is talent. Yeah. That is talent,
It's sort of like a choir, where you're in this choir and you're part of the choir and you sing together, and then every once in a while someone has a solo, and then sometimes someone has a whole song, but oftentimes someone wants to like butt in and take over the solo or whatever. But like, if you don't have that choir that's working together to make one single song blend together, then it doesn't work. You just have a bunch of people making noise.
I wish that we had known. I guess the actor who plays Dawes doesn't come back again, does he?
He does.
He
Oh,
does.
He did like
Can we
six
get
episodes.
him to join us? Do you think?
I'm gonna email. I'll message him.
He was absolutely wonderful. If it's not his thing, totally understand, but would love to pick his brain.
John, I'll hook you up with him. I'll message him.
Wonderful.
That
For you.
would be amazing. I love him so much.
This episode was just, it was just a delightful episode. That the ending was an awesome twist, that I did not see coming. But it was really cool because it's sort of like, I've been talking lately about how we need Midge to get some wins. She's just been constantly getting these like really devastating losses in the past few episodes. And this is the first episode that felt like a really nice win. Although, we have one
Wait
more
until
episode.
we have one more
episode to go. That was a really scary finale. It was exciting, that she was being herself, which is kind of interesting given the fact that she still refuses to go by her own name. But that was a good example of Midge being Midge and being funny and doing what is special to her, but that's going to cause problems. The first thing I thought is she's going to get sued. But that's like compromising this comedian's livelihood,
As you go into season 2, more will become clear. There's only 8 episodes in the season, so you're almost at the season finale. And it's even better than the other.
The next episode is the season finale.
Yeah.
So when are we gonna start 2, John?
We'll start 2 in the new year. We'll start 2 right after we get back from our holiday hiatus.
Awesome.
So wait a second. Did I miss it? Who is Sophie supposed to be? Is she supposed to be a real person, or is that coming in the next episode?
She is a real person. She's based on a real person.
But everybody was saying that it's coming. You're gonna,
Yeah,
it's gonna be answered.
She was rich and like putting on this character.
I did some research about Sophie, and all the research I found, she wasn't based, from what I found, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, because you may know way more than I do. She wasn't based on a single real.
It was like
person.
a group of stand-up women or something.
Yeah, like one part Phyllis Diller, one part Joan Rivers, one part Moms Mabley, and one part Jane Lynch. And what all of those historic, iconic female comedians have in common is they developed personas. They didn't go on stage and perform as themselves. They all had characters that they
especially
did.
Like Phyllis Diller and Joan Rivers. Yeah.
And even one of the articles I read even mentioned Lucille Ball.
Phyllis Diller is from my neck of the woods.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, from Bluffton, Ohio.
Lucille Ball was Lucille Ball is amazing, but Lucille Ball was very much like putting on a character.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what I loved about this, and like this is definitely something that Joan Rivers did, but Sophie knows that when Midge says, "I've never seen a picture of you, I've never seen," and she sort of goes to the line, well, like I have the publicist, I have I have everybody, and it's really interesting, this idea that a performer not only cultivates a character to play on stage, and that's who they are as far as the act goes, but that every single thing about them, you know, from start to finish, when they get out of the car to like they get into the theater, like that, all of that, they're still playing the part, you know, unless they're behind like their own closed door. And I think that's something that, you know, many celebrities do. Joan Rivers absolutely did that. And I feel like we're getting a sense of like the argument for that versus someone like Midge, who is like trying to somewhat create an act out of who she is as a person. And so it's just like these two ideas competing, is like, is it a full act? Are you going to use your name? Or are you going to like, are you gonna do you and use your name, or are you going to play a character? And where do the two meet in,
Well,
you know, in real life?
It's so true, because it's like, you know, it's my biggest critique of Midge right now, which is like, why do you need to hide behind a pseudonym? I mean, yeah, maybe she's being more herself on stage than Sophie is, but she is still hiding behind a character, you know, whether that character is more like herself or not. She's actually practicing, you know, the opposite of she's basically practicing what she's criticizing in that last monologue.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing too is that, you know, she's like exactly that. She's not fully committing to a character, because she's telling the truth of her life, right? We see that in the beginning. She's honing tidbits of her life into stories, which is, you know, that's a great way to write. That's a great way to write anything, is to take little bits of your life and cultivate it into a full-blown story. And, you know, they even say, oh, you got the 10, like, this is great, you know. So, but I think what we really love about Midge, though, is that she doesn't understand the business. She doesn't understand show business. And that in certain ways, you know, Sophie Lennon's character is the business, and she's flouting it. Like, she doesn't respect it at all, which now puts Susie in this horrendous position, which puts them both in that position, because, you know, she could have, you know, as far as we know, like, she just kind of flushed all of their, you know, all of their hopes for the next move of her career down the drain by doing that, you know. So it's this kind of interesting point at which Midge is not understanding the business, but also understands how to write. And it's like, she's not fully getting it. And I think that's interesting, because you could absolutely make a career out of bucking tradition also, with, you know, so, and like telling everyone secrets. And so, like, you know, especially in comedy, so you're kind of like, well, where's she gonna go with this? Because
It's sort of like
gonna be that person, or, you know,
it's sort of like Kathy Griffin or something,
Yeah.
you know, like
telling all the
how
secrets. Yeah.
right.
Hey, so really quick, just to not to derail this. This has been a really interesting conversation, but I just want to remind everybody that this event has actually ended, and we have a new event, the Hats of Maisel event, which I scheduled to happen right after it. And I'm curious what everybody thinks about the idea of we just keep that event going in this room. It doesn't really necessarily change all that much when it comes to Clubhouse. We're all here already. You know, the only thing is whether people who were expecting to go to Hats of Maisel will suddenly not know. And I'm wondering if folks could do a quick shout out on Discord and let people know that the Hats of Maisel event is happening right now. It's just happening here in the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel event just so that we don't have to change rooms and move everybody into the other one. As it applies to our app, they are separate events. You can harvest from each one of them. But that event is an opportunity for me to drop the hat mementos for the folks who have purchased those, and then according to the description, it's an opportunity for us to do exactly what we're doing right now, which is talking about the show for another half hour, and specifically talking about how everything we saw here is likely to have effects in the finale episode. And when I scheduled the event, I had no idea how much the end of this episode has me just salivating over wanting to start that next episode.
Isn't their writing amazing? Like, you can attest to this more than I can. Their writing's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know how many other writers they have with them writing. I know that Sheila Lawrence, who wrote and produced on Gilmore Girls, writes for them, and Sheila's in Los Angeles, so that must mean that they do a lot of their writing, their writers' room stuff is virtual. But aside from being just gifted writers themselves, they also have a real knack for picking writers that they surround themselves with, because shows aren't just written by the showrunner.
So Kate Fodder, I don't know who she is, but it says she's listed as one of the writers for that episode.
I'm just so curious, I know that we're now getting deep into the episode, but I still had another question for you, Stephanie.
Sure.
That the scene that in the theater, that was tell me a little bit about that location.
So if I remember correctly, I don't know if it's listed on IMDb, but the location was it says they have the Jewish Center for filming locations, but for the theater, it was the Hispanic theater, a museum, like Hispanic museum or something. It was on Central Park West, around the 110 area, for anybody who knows New York.
Did they make it look like an old-time theater, or does it?
No, that's how it looks.
Oh, cool.
Like that's how it looks. And they had about maybe 150 extras, which is a lot. I mean,
that's a lot of extras.
Maybe 100.
Yeah, I mean, that's not like
close to 100 at least.
Football stadium scene, but 150 extras is that's a lot of extras.
I think it was usually closer to 100.
Cool.
But they split it up for the scene where for the part of the scene where we're all watching Jane on stage. They had all the seats filled. And then for the part where we were getting to get our autographs, they sent some people back to holding, and there was about 20 extras in line behind me, and they were all really sweet. It was really funny, because I had to stand behind these partitions in the back of the theater while that whole scene was continuing on until they finished. And
meaning until they called cut.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And what was really interesting was, once you get up to the co-star like level, let's say, you're the example for the background actors on like etiquette, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So,
well, they look to you.
They look to
So-
you on like, what did you do to
Right.
have that?
So as we're doing the scene, and I walk back to the back of the theater and I'm waiting, and then all these other people follow behind me, right?
Mhm.
To line up again. But as they're doing the scene, the people that are coming back are like talking really loudly, and then they have a bunch of production assistants being like shh, and I'm just standing there like silent, because I know what's happening. I know what's going on. I know why they're going to be like shh, you know. And they didn't realize I'm mic'd up.
Oh, right.
Like,
Yeah, sure.
I have a mic, so shut up.
Yeah.
You know. But it was interesting, and it was a real theater. It was gorgeous. I have some pictures that I'll post on Instagram, like behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, would love to see some of that stuff.
And you guys can follow me on Instagram at Steph Gould and Twitter at Stephanie Gould. I don't usually use Twitter, but I will, I guess. But
yeah, we sort of, we're kind of agnostic here. We've got folks who are big Twitter users and folks who are Instagram users, and even on
Yeah.
Instagram there are the story folks and the single post folks. So
and
I don't really distinguish between them.
Yeah, it was funny because it was at this like Spanish historic museum theater or something like that. I forget what the name of it was called, but it was gorgeous inside. It was such a good location. It was amazing.
Man, this show really, like, it really makes me want to move to New York City.
I know, right?
just move me, Josie, and Babsy and the dogs into like a small little New York City apartment.
You want Lisa and I to cook for you.
Can we talk for a second? We mentioned it briefly, but can we talk for a second about how television never shows synagogues?
They don't.
They never show
really
synagogues. And I mean, I didn't really think about it until I was watching the scene. We have seen like more than we could ever count scenes in a church. You know, I mean, they're everywhere on television and film. And I mean,
especially, let's talk about Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate Hanukkah.
Oh yeah, Happy Hanukkah.
But yeah, I think I saw an episode of The West Wing and they were at a synagogue.
Masters
and
of
then
Hey,
like
Curry.
Hello. I heard about synagogues and I had to chime in.
Please chime. Wind chimes.
No, it's true. Synagogues are underrepresented.
You know, and like the inside of a synagogue, it's like, you know, has so many similarities to the inside of like every church scene that we've ever seen. You know, huge, a door at the back. Somebody
You do see it on Entourage. Entourage showed the synagogue.
I bet.
Yeah, there are shows that do it. Masters of Sex did it a couple of times, I think.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying comparatively. Like, let's, you know, it's so rare when you compare it.
Yeah.
So how about Rose walking down the aisle when Lecha Dodi was being sung, which is about, well, the last verse is, you know, Lecha Dodi is welcome the bride, you know, welcome Shabbat. So here is Abe's bride walking down the aisle during that song. I just love that. I thought
they probably did that purposely.
I did not know that, because I obviously don't know that. I don't know Hebrew and don't know that line, but that's pretty rad. I mean, such a powerful moment.
I'm assuming that was on purpose, but I know we were all distracted because the rabbi has a cold. So
that was a funny line. I mean, that was
the guy who plays the rabbi is really nice too. I'm friends with the guy who plays the rabbi too.
Yeah, but it was not the rabbi. It was the guy. It was the guy who wanted us all to know that the rabbi has a cold.
He's amazing. He's so funny.
That was the funny line. See, it's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, there are people in this world who definitely want you to know that information.
I mean, as a lapsed Catholic, it happens in church too.
Yeah, I know.
The priest has a cool, but yeah, this whole show has been amazing.
Okay, so for folks who have never watched this before, who are watching with us for the first time, which includes myself, what predictions for the finale based on what she just did here? What do we have predictions for what's going to happen?
So I think there's going to be another fight. Hello, everyone. Long time no chat.
Yes, hello. I think that you're right about that. I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, fight with Midge. And I think her dad is going to try and set her up with her ex-husband. Like, I know he said the whole thing about she didn't want to go back, but I think that's like his next move is he's just going to try one more time. Stephanie, I also sent you a message in the back channel that we have a mutual friend who is a good friend of mine.
Oh, we do?
So,
cool.
We do, yeah. So
fun.
Hey, John.
The fight, you'd probably be willing to take like any Colonel bet on that. Like I'd take anybody who wants to bet me that they're not gonna that Midge and Susie are not gonna fight in the next episode. I'll take your Colonel bet. Like, doesn't matter what it is. But that her dad will try and set them up again, I wouldn't take that bet. I hope you're right. It would be cool. It would definitely be unexpected because I don't imagine his character doing that, but I don't think so. Let me try and clarify, or get you to clarify what you mean by setting up. Do you mean like setting up in like a sneaky way, or do you mean that he's going to try and have a sit down with Joel, like kind of, a follow up to what happened there in the office when, he was explaining that he's gonna,
I think he's gonna have like a sit down again and try and get him to reconsider the whole situation.
Okay.
Like, I'm like you, John. I had no idea what the show was even about. Like, I didn't even look at the information about what the background of this was. But I jokingly told my mom tonight, I was like, well, looks like Midge and Susie are packing up to go to California. Like, who knows? Who knows where they're going from here? But yeah, I think he's gonna try and talk out that budget again, and get him to change his mind.
So
you think that Susie and Midge are gonna follow him to California?
I mean, I think that would be
not
funny.
A chance.
I
no
mean,
way,
it would
no
be
how.
funny, but it's not going to happen. The whole
That won't happen. I don't think that'll happen.
No, I don't either. Maybe
so
for
John,
AK or something.
Yeah.
I actually have to go.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. Does anybody else have anything that they want to ask Stephanie before she heads out?
You
or
could
Stephanie,
totally
if you
ask
have
me.
to head out, I can actually collect those questions and send them to you. We're going to be sticking around here for another about 20 minutes before the end of this second event. But oh my gosh, thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So much.
Us.
This was so nice.
I know it was like such a small. I know. I'm like,
no,
we talked
I mean,
about this, but like it was such a small part, and I'm so sorry.
Well, but that's
People
what.
got
No,
their
but
hopes up.
that's really like a big part of what this project is. We're not really discriminating in regards to like how big a person's part is. These are the shows we love, and if you were a part of it in any way, we would love to hear from you, celebrate it with you, and that's what it is. I mean, I say all the time that I'd love to grab one of the police officers in the first episode that pulled her off the stage. I mean, if we can find that guy, I would love to bring him.
I mean, but thank you, John, so much. Seriously, because this came at like the weirdest point right now in my like journey because these past few months have been really tough for me and my family. So it's like kind of validating that like what I'm doing is okay.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, you love this, right?
Oh yeah. And I'm
then-
writing too. I'm also a writer, and I wrote a solo show when I was, it was called Walk With Me, and you can find it on YouTube, I think. I think I posted it. It's about me. It's about how I grew up with cerebral palsy. I have cerebral palsy. And so it's about me growing up with cerebral palsy and then learning how to walk again when I was 13. And how I named my wheelchair Leonardo DiCaprio so I could sit in his lap.
Love it.
I love that.
That is
Stephanie, you could do a watch of your show through Remarkist with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
That would
mean,
be so fun.
I mean, we watch we watch lots of stuff together, and you know, and when we have the joy and privilege to watch with somebody who helped to make it, it just makes the watch all that much better. I mean, this episode was just that much richer because you could tell us all kinds of little things that we didn't know about the episode, and you know, stuff that you knew because you were in the scene, or stuff that you knew because you have friends that were in the scene, or you know it because you worked across the street from it. And that's kind of the heart of these watches is that. So
yeah.
and
Come
if you
back
know
and join
anything
us
else,
anytime.
if you know, yes, join us anytime. And if you know anyone else that is,
I know a ton of people, and a few of them are in season 2, so I can even message them before you get to season 2.
oh goodness, please,
Or
that would be amazing.
I'll message you on Facebook, you know, with their names and profiles and stuff.
Awesome.
But if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I'm there the most. It's at Steph Gould, and then Twitter is at Stephanie Gould, and my website is stephaniegould.com.
I'm sure if they went to stephaniegould.com, you have all of your official profiles.
Everything. So that's there, and like so I wrote a solo show. It's called Walk With Me. It's about growing up with CP and learning to walk again. And I really appreciated you asking me to do this, because it was a lot of fun.
I appreciate that you agreed to do it. It really is like a real pleasure and privilege of ours to have you here.
And I loved the costume. I wanted to keep the pillbox hat so much.
Oh, I was actually wondering, like, I mean, you said that you were in makeup and hair, and
I was in hair and makeup for 2.5 hours.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that was all their wardrobe.
Yeah, because my hair is super curly naturally, like super curly, and right now it's long, and it was long back then. So they had to straighten it and like put it up in pin curls and like make it look shorter.
Oh wow.
And it took a long time. And Alex was next to me like almost the whole time. I was like, how are you? You don't have that much. Okay.
Cool.
But yeah, I really had so much fun, and everybody here is just so sweet. And this was so great. You lifted my spirits without even knowing I needed my spirits lifted, especially after this past year.
Yeah, well, as others have said, please
come see
back.
us again. Yeah, and thank you.
Yeah. John, I'll message you about the Walk With Me stuff.
Awesome.
After.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, Stephanie. I really enjoyed hearing
Thanks
what
so
you
much. This was great.
You're welcome. Have a good night, guys.
You too. Bye, Stephanie.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.